Roblox games just can't stop getting delayed. If you look at even recent examples, you got Holy War X, Pixel Piece, and now even Anime Tales, which are all examples of recent games that have been delayed significantly. But these recent games did not start this problem. This has been a historical issue with Roblox games that just can't seem to go away. In fact, if you want to get a more accurate release date, take the original release date, then add about 3 weeks to a year. It could depend a lot, just depending on what the issue is or what happens with the game. Then you get the new release date, then you gotta add another 1 to 3 hours for the release delay because there's always bugs and stuff on release, and then you actually get the real release date. So the real question is, what is the cause of all these different Roblox delays, and is there a common cause? So let's look at it. So first, let's look at Anime Tales since I had the most recent delay. But what most of y'all don't know is Anime Tales has been getting delayed for way longer than you probably know. Anime Tales was originally supposed to be released in spring of 2022, then moved to summer of 2022, then moved yet again to early 2023, and then get delayed, and then get a March 3rd, I believe, release date, and then yet again get delayed after releasing and having too many bugs. And y'all probably thought I was dragging it with 3 weeks all the way up to 1 year, but if you actually look at it, the game was supposed to release in 2022 spring, and it's about to be 2023 spring. So in this instance, the chart is actually accurate, or maybe even a little too lenient, because it might go over 1 year, we don't know. But they said the reason for the delay was logistical issues, which basically means they didn't account for something. Although this is a broad term, I feel like you could describe 99% of Roblox delays with this term. And I think the main cause for so many logistical issues is because the Roblox industry or games are basically innovating so fast that you run into a lot of issues. Let me explain. Let's say you're releasing a game and you believe you're like 6 months from being done, and you're like, okay, all we gotta do is this and then we can release. But then another game releases that's really innovative and pushes the standard for a game because Roblox players are always looking for something better. So that new game that just released might have features that now you need to add into your own game, and that by itself can add months on release time. I feel like another example of a game where this happened to is a game I wanted to talk about anyways, which is Holy War X. So Holy War X was originally supposed to be released in summer of 2022, then would be delayed to December of 2022, and then would have a huge delay where we still do not know when it will be coming out. We don't have any word on release, and apparently people have not even tested the game. But the reason I believe Holy War X is the prime example of a game getting delayed to try to keep updating their game based off competition is because the owner has been very open about it. Although he's never said it's added up or had any sort of effect on the release date and the delays, if you think about it, I feel like it only makes sense too. He's added a bunch of things. For example, I believe he said he added the weapons breaking from like Project Slayers and the guards from Deep Oaken, and I imagine there's a million different things that he's added from other games just developing the game for such a long period of time that it has added up to something significant. And obviously when you're trying to have a good, innovative, and successful game on release, this is gonna happen. It's gonna be a good thing for the game and in terms of how good the game is, but it is gonna come at expense of the release date, which in my opinion is potentially a big reason why developers constantly overestimate when they can get their game out, because they don't account for stuff that can't be accounted for. I know, crazy. But Holy War X getting delayed specifically seems to be a lot bigger than just this. About 3 months ago, the owner of Holy War X, Alpha X, made a video essentially saying that the reason Holy War X is being delayed is because the developer was not producing quality work, so they had to remove him from the team, and now they have to redo all of his work. But apparently that's only part of the reason, because another dev then said that basically that was just an excuse or a scapegoat used to appease the blue names, and I believe blue names is referring to the verified role, which is the role everybody has in the server, so basically the general public, I guess you could say, and that basically the other dev did not cost them straight up progress, and apparently there just wasn't enough content for a decent release. But in my opinion, a decent release for them is probably a different standard than most games, so I'm sure that they already had enough content for a good release, but they probably have really high standards, what I'm assuming. But here we actually run into a common problem that we've seen in Holy War X now, and we've seen in Anime Tales, but I didn't go over it yet, which is lack of communication between the teams, at least specifically regarding release dates, because Alpha X apparently announced without telling them, and then later they forced him to delay the game. And a similar thing happened with Anime Tales, where apparently the staff team was telling the owner that they needed more time and they can't release right now, but apparently in his quotations he had an enormous ego and inability to listen to his staff's warning, and then they ended up delaying the game eventually because it was not ready. And now let's look at Pixel Piece and why Pixel Piece was delayed. But before we do that, I would appreciate if y'all subscribe to the channel because these videos take a lot longer than y'all would think. But regardless, let's get into it. So Pixel Piece was originally delayed to add more content that actually still did not get added on release, and then even on update 1 some of the content they promised was still not there, and then they shut down the game after about a week of release. So you could argue the game is still being delayed as we speak, I don't know. But the main reason Pixel Piece specifically was delayed was mainly because there was so many bugs it made the game almost unplayable. But I do believe some of the aspects that we talked about earlier, you could probably apply them here. Obviously, I don't know exactly what's going on, and that applies to all of this, so I could be completely wrong, but this is just my guess. I'm gonna do the same thing here. But an ex-developer of Pixelpiece would actually come out exposing the developers of Pixelpiece for basically scamming him. I don't believe the devs actually ever addressed this document. They kind of just ignored it, I believe, or at least that's from my knowledge, so I can't confirm 100% the validity from this or anything. But basically what he claims is that they offered him a set percentage, and then they said, oh, you didn't do this that we said you needed to do, or basically it sounds like lack of communication is what I'm trying to say. And then basically they changed his percentage and then got rid of it altogether and gave him a flat fee, I believe. So yeah, basically he's accusing them of scamming for that. But apparently the devs of Pixelpiece sold a large percentage of their game to investors, so then that left them very money hungry. And then I believe it's also a very possible reason that this could lead to why the game ended up getting released prematurely, because clearly the game was not ready for release if y'all played Pixelpiece. But it's very possible that they just released it because they did not own a big portion of the game anymore. But this actually shows us another common issue between games that clearly has caused delays before, which is that these developers don't sign contracts, so they're not actually obliged to do anything. And that's the same thing with that percentage. I believe they're able to just take it back, even though you could call it scamming. I mean, I don't think they're actually enforced or forced to give him anything. But apparently the same problem goes both ways, because the same developer that was not pulling his weight over at Holy War X, they also can't do anything to him, even though they probably already paid him. And I feel like this probably causes some developers to work slower in general, because they know they're not actually under contract to do anything. So worst case scenario, nothing actually hurts them, and they can just move on to another project. Obviously, I'm sure they don't want to ruin their reputation, but at the same way, there's not really that significant of consequences, is what I'm trying to say. Especially compared to normal jobs, where if you messed up like this, they could take you to court. You could get legal action against you, so then you are not going to mess up in the same way. And then you also got to consider a good portion of these developers are kids. They have other stuff going on in their life, or by kids is crazy, but teenagers at least, right? So even young adults, they got a ton of stuff going on. I'm sure a lot of them are going to college, high school. They got IRL stuff compared to other people in like other real games. Even real games have delays, and those real games, that's their full-time job, compared to some of this is just side stuff for some of these people. Now with that being said, I don't believe age should be able to be an excuse for everything, but even with that being said, it's probably the reasoning for so many of the issues that we see on Roblox, and how a lot of games are just managed poorly in general. Like, a lot of the community holds like 4 16-year-olds making a game to the same level as like a AAA company making a game, or sometimes even higher level, which does show how much the Roblox community is able to do in general with a really little amount of resources if we compare it to AAA games. And if we're being realistic here, you could be like, oh well, those AAA games are way better, then why are you over here playing these Roblox games then? Because in reality, some of these games are honestly better than AAA games, in my opinion at least. But I do hope as the Roblox community just gets older over time, that we'll just naturally be more professional, and then we'll have less issues like all these massive delays we're getting, and we'll be more like a AAA game community in a way. Okay, I'm definitely dragging it now, but y'all get what I'm trying to say. But either way, if y'all enjoyed, I appreciate it if y'all subscribe, because these videos take a long time. I'm telling you, damn, I've been up for a minute, so I'd appreciate it. Thank y'all.